When I heard that boy was calling for his daddy, as a father, I came. I just came.
This is 7-year-old Jamal White, the young son of a Milwaukee rapper who was kidnapped at gunpoint after his mother's IG was discovered, turning everything into something dangerous. On the evening of July 11, 2025, Jamal was outside near 61st Street and West Hustis Street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, going back and forth on his bicycle while his father watched nearby. A white Jeep Renegade circled the block once, then came back. Within seconds, masked men jumped out. One chased his father. Another grabbed Jamal by the back of his shirt and dragged him into the SUV as he screamed for help. The Jeep sped off, leaving his bike in the driveway. An Amber Alert was issued across Wisconsin. Surveillance footage of the white Jeep flooded the news, and investigators soon learned this was never about the child. It didn't take long before the police found out that this was all because Jamal's mother was showing off pictures of herself and what she had online, leading to a devastating crime. But to understand how photos on IG turned into an armed abduction of a child in broad daylight, we have to go back to the beginning. This is the kidnapping of Jamal White. Jamal White was born in 2018 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to Siobhan Williams and Jamal White Sr. From the beginning, he carried his father's name, a detail that symbolized connection and pride within the family. He was raised on the north side of Milwaukee, in a neighborhood where children still rode bikes up and down the block in the evenings, and neighbors recognized one another by face. To those around him, Jamal was not a headline or a viral video. He was a small boy with a big smile, a child who loved being outside and who still had the innocence that only comes at 7 years old. But even in those ordinary beginnings, there were layers to the world around him that he was too young to understand. By the time he turned 7, Jamal had already built a personality that stood out. Family members described him as energetic and curious. He liked to ride his bike, play at the park, and stay close to his father when they were outside together. He was the kind of child who asked questions constantly and believed he could keep up with the adults around him. Neighbors saw him as harmless and respectful. He was not known as a troublemaker. He was just a kid who enjoyed being outside in the summer. And in many ways, his life looked simple from the outside, but that simplicity would not protect him from the adult conflicts forming around him. Meanwhile, his parents lived lives that were far more complicated. His father, Jamal White Sr., was known locally as an aspiring rapper. On social media, he promoted music, posted performances, and built an online presence tied to his stage identity. He often used 785 in his name, a number associated with his circle. But beyond the music and the online presence, Jamal Sr. was also described as a loving father. He spent time with his son outside, walked alongside him while he rode his bike, and tried to stay involved in his daily life. Friends and family saw him as someone who cared deeply about his child and wanted to be present even while chasing his own ambitions. Music was not just a hobby for him, it was part of how he saw himself and how others recognized him. While there is no public record of him being a mainstream artist, he was active in Milwaukee's local rap scene. But being visible online in any capacity can draw attention, both good and bad. And sometimes attention travels faster than you expect. Jamal's mother, Siobhan, had a different online presence. She was active on Instagram and appeared to enjoy fashion and designer items. Her social media showed trips, outfits, and a lavish lifestyle that is marked by showing off of jewelries. She did not often post her location, but her content suggested someone who liked looking put together and sharing highlights of her life. Some described her as flashy, others saw it simply as confidence. But behind that lavish appearance to the public, there was a dark rumor happening behind the cameras. In certain circles, it was being said that Siobhan was involved in drug activity. The story claimed that during FaceTime calls, large quantities of what were described as bricks of drugs were visible in the background. Whether those claims were true or exaggerated, they created a perception that there was serious money tied to her. And in neighborhoods where perception can be as powerful as fact, that kind of rumor spreads quickly. That belief that there was cash, product, or valuables inside her home became the basis for a plan that changed everything. Because of the lifestyle Siobhan was showing off on the internet and the rumors going around of drug dealing and the money that comes with it, certain individuals began discussing how they could take advantage of it. Among them was Corey Gabriel Williams, 25 years old, along with the 38-year-old Fabian Johnson and a 14-year-old. The three aligned around a single idea. If Siobhan truly had access to drugs and large amounts of cash, then she was worth targeting. They believed they had seen enough to justify it. FaceTime calls allegedly showed what looked like bricks of drugs in the background. Whether that perception was accurate or exaggerated no longer mattered. In their minds, it confirmed there was money to be taken. Corey expected to be paid for his role. He entered the plan knowing there was money involved. Allegedly, he was promised $10,000 for participating. That promise made the risk feel worth it. Fabian Johnson was part of the physical execution. He was one of the adults prepared to be present when the confrontation happened. The 14-year-old was not just a bystander either. He was integrated into the planning and movement of the group. What they built in those discussions was not chaos. It was structure, a target, a vehicle, assigned roles, an expectation of payout. But there was one flaw they didn't account for, and it was a flaw that would cause everything to go astray. On the evening of July 11, 2025, at 7 p.m., the plan was executed, leading to one of the most devastating crimes in Milwaukee. That day, Jamal was at home with his father near 61st Street and West Houston Street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, just a few houses down from where neighbors had watched him grow up. It was a normal summer day. Jamal was riding his bike outside, going back and forth between the sidewalk and the driveway. His father was nearby, keeping an eye on him. Nothing felt dangerous, nothing looked out of place. But at the same time, the group planning the robbery was already moving. Corey Gabriel Williams, Fabian Johnson, and the 14-year-old had gotten into a white Jeep Renegade. Their original plan was to confront Siobhan and rob her. When they drove into the neighborhood near 61st and West Houston Street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, they expected to find Siobhan. But there was one problem. Siobhan was not home. That was the moment everything shifted. Instead of leaving, they circled the block and decided to go to her boyfriend to rob him instead. The Jeep passed the house once, then turned around and came back. Jamal was outside riding his bike. His father was outside too. The situation changed from targeting Siobhan to targeting whoever was there. The Jeep stopped near the driveway, and in a sudden, swift motion, the suspects got out of the Jeep wearing masks, and one started going after Jamal Sr., while the other ran toward the poor little boy who was just riding his bicycle innocently. In an instinct, Jamal Sr. ran inside the house to evade the robbers, but in his fear for his life, he forgot that his son was also outside. And so, in minutes, one of the robbers grabbed the little boy and dragged him into the SUV as he screamed for help. The Jeep sped off, leaving his bike in the driveway.
Need your help finding a missing boy last seen in a white SUV. Take a look at your screen. This is 7-year-old Jamal White. Police say he was last seen around 7 o'clock tonight near 61st and Houston Street. That's near Good Hope Road. Again, last seen in a small white SUV, a Jeep Renegade. Not clear if this is an abduction. We're working to get that information. 12 News' Emily Pofall just arrived there to the scene. Emily, are police there right now?
They are, Blake. I want to show you. We're on 61st and Houston right now. I'm going to have my photographer zoom in. You can see that there are multiple police squad cars. We've seen detectives here on scene as well. Some of them going door to door looking for Jamal White. Again, you've seen him on your screen. He's about 4 feet tall. He's 7 years old. It's an urgent search for the 7-year-old right now. Milwaukee police saying that he's critically missing and last seen in a white SUV. We are working on getting in contact with family members and friends of the family to talk about what might have happened here, find out some more information. Again, not clear if this is an abduction at this point, but you can see from the police presence here that they are urgently looking for this little boy, Blake.
For a few seconds, everything felt frozen. Then reality hit. Jamal Sr. came back outside, shouting and looking down the street where the Jeep had just disappeared. Neighbors began stepping out of their homes. Some had already heard the screams, others had seen the vehicle circle the block. Calls to 911 started coming in almost immediately, but by then, the Jeep was gone. And that was when the situation shifted from a neighborhood robbery attempt to a citywide emergency. Police arrived and began gathering information. Witnesses described a white Jeep Renegade. Surveillance cameras from nearby homes had captured the vehicle driving past once, turning around and then stopping near the driveway. Officers collected footage quickly, knowing that time mattered. However, the most urgent concern was Jamal. An Amber Alert was later issued across Wisconsin, broadcasting Jamal's name, age, and the description of the white Jeep. His photo spread rapidly across television and social media. The story gained attention fast because this was not an adult dispute. This was a 7-year-old child taken in front of his own home. Meanwhile, inside the vehicle, the plan had already shifted again. What was supposed to be a robbery had now become leverage. Communications centered around money. A demand for $100,000 and jewelry was made. The kidnappers believed that holding Jamal would force payment. The situation had escalated far beyond what it was originally supposed to be. But there was a problem they could not control. The public attention was intense. The Amber Alert was brought law enforcement pressure across the city. Patrol units increased. News crews covered the story. The description of the Jeep was everywhere. The longer Jamal was missing, the higher the risk for everyone involved. And just when it seemed like the case could stretch on, something changed. By that point, the gravity of the situation was impossible to ignore. This was no longer a quiet robbery attempt that went wrong. This was a 7-year-old child taken at gunpoint in front of cameras with a statewide Amber Alert activated. Every patrol officer in the area was now looking for a white Jeep Renegade. News stations were replaying the footage. Social media was flooded with Jamal's picture. The pressure was building by the hour. Inside that vehicle, the risk was rising. A ransom demand of $100,000 and jewelry had been communicated. The expectation was that fear would force payment. But instead of creating silence, the kidnapping created exposure. The more the story spread, the harder it became to move freely. Every gas station, every traffic light, every camera became a potential threat to them. And that shift in pressure changed the outcome. Later on July 12th, less than 24 hours after he had been taken, Jamal was located at a residence at 2028 North 39th Street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Officers moved in on the property after tracking leads connected to the vehicle and the individuals involved. When police entered the home, Jamal was found alive. He told officers that a man had chased him, grabbed him by the back of his shirt, and forced him into a car. He said there were 3 people inside the vehicle. He described being driven to the house where he was eventually found. At one point, he overheard a conversation about his mother coming to pick him up, but that never happened.
News, a frightening 24 hours for a 7-year-old boy and his family that happily ended in the boy's safe return. Jamal White was kidnapped, reportedly at gunpoint near 61st and Eustis around 7 p.m. on Friday. This security video shows what neighbors say is the sound of Jamal White being kidnapped. You see White riding down the street on his bike. A white Jeep Renegade stops, turns around, heads in the same direction as White, and then, shortly after, you hear White screams as he's abducted. We do want to warn you, what you're about to watch and listen to is very disturbing.
It's getting scary and scary every day.
That baby was so scared, traumatic. He's traumatized. We couldn't even sleep. We've been up all night just because we can still, you just hear it. It was piercing. It was hurtful. As a parent.
West Eustis Street, residents say, is a family-friendly area. The last place they'd expect this to happen.
It was really shocking that it happened here, honestly, because nothing like that happened over here. It's really quiet, kids can go outside and play. They can walk to the park on their own. It's really nice. It's that happened here by our house. It don't happen over here like that.
In Milwaukee, Montserricosa, CBS 58 News.
Now, according to family, Jamal was sent to the hospital to get checked out after he was found. CBS 58's Jacob Murphy was there shortly after he was found, spoke with family about what has been a rough 24 hours.
Well, right on the corner of 39th and Lloyd, and this is where people that live nearby say Jamal was found. We talked with his cousin who says they're so happy that he was found, but also they are devastated for what he had to go through the last 24 hours.
Baby J is very precious to us. He's a sweetheart. So just to think about what he may have been going through.
Jamal White's family is relieved, but also speechless after a grueling 24 hours.
When we received the tip, we was just hoping that it was correct, because every tip that we've been receiving, we've been flying across the city from West Dallas to the north side to the east side.
The 7-year-old boy found alive thanks to a community-driven search.
It's a kid. At the end of the day, you know, we live in Milwaukee. It's a lot that can happen here, especially within those 24 hours. Those are the most critical, and we just wanted to make sure we were here using the best of our time.
The family is looking for answers on why someone would take their boy.
They're not going to get away with that. They most definitely won't get away with that, and anybody that had anything to do with it, they most definitely will suffer the consequences. I'm just glad that Baby J is home.
And we're still working to learn more about exactly what happened last night and also what happened tonight when Jamal was found. In Milwaukee, Jacob Murphy.
Corey Gabriel Williams was arrested in connection with the kidnapping. Fabian Johnson was taken into custody as well. The 14-year-old involved was charged in the case. The charges included kidnapping, taking hostages, and contributing to the delinquency of a child. The situation that began as a rumor-driven robbery had now turned into multiple felony charges. And even though Jamal was physically safe when police found him, the emotional weight of what happened could not simply disappear. A child had been chased, grabbed, and taken off his own driveway. A father had watched his son disappear down the street. A neighborhood had seen how quickly violence could enter an ordinary evening. The Amber Alert was canceled. The headlines shifted from missing to located safe, but the seriousness of what unfolded on 61st and West Houston Street remained, because this was not just about a failed robbery. It was about how quickly a plan built on rumors and greed escalated into a kidnapping that could have ended very differently. But once Jamal was found safe, the focus shifted from the streets to the courtroom. In court, the seriousness of the case became clear almost immediately. Corey Gabriel Williams was formally charged with kidnapping as a party to a crime, taking hostages as a party to a crime, and contributing to the delinquency of a child. Fabian Johnson also faced kidnapping charges connected to the same incident. The 14-year-old's case was moved into adult court, reflecting how prosecutors viewed the gravity of the offense. His cash bond was set to $100,000, the same amount that had allegedly been demanded as ransom. That figure mirrored what prosecutors argued was at stake during the abduction. The charges against the teen included kidnapping, taking hostages, and weapons-related offenses. Prosecutors told the court that he, along with the others, participated in grabbing Jamal from outside his home while he was riding his bike near 61st and West Houston Street in Milwaukee. They emphasized the use of force and the involvement of firearms, describing it as an armed abduction of a child rather than a robbery that simply escalated. During the initial court appearances, prosecutors laid out the timeline in detail: the white Jeep circling the block, the masked suspects stepping out, the chase into the driveway, and the moment Jamal was grabbed by the back of his shirt and carried into the SUV while screaming for his father. They also referenced the ransom demand of $100,000 in jewelry, arguing that the kidnapping had turned into an attempt to use a child as leverage. Bail discussions followed. Judges considered the severity of the charges, the risk to the community, and whether the defendants posed a flight risk. In cases involving hostage-taking and kidnapping, bond amounts are often set high because of the potential danger involved. Court documents state that Williams admitted involvement and explained that the plan began as a scheme to rob Jamal's mother, whom he described as a well-known drug dealer. That claim has been repeated in public reporting tied to the case. Cell phone records introduced in court reportedly showed extensive communication among the suspects and with Jamal's mother on the day of the abduction. prosecutors pointed to those records as part of the timeline, arguing that the coordination suggested planning rather than a spontaneous act. As of the latest reporting, all of the suspects have pled not guilty. The cases remain active, with hearings continuing as attorneys review evidence, file motions, and prepare for potential trial proceedings. If convictions are secured on kidnapping and hostage-taking charges, the penalties under Wisconsin law could be severe, including the possibility of decades in prison. The legal process is still unfolding. As the case continues to move through the courts, public reaction has remained strong. When Jamal was found safe, relief spread quickly across Milwaukee and beyond. Many people credited the Amber Alert system and the rapid sharing of his photo online for helping him bring home in less than 24 hours. Neighbors who had watched the surveillance footage said they could not forget the sound of a child screaming in his own driveway. But relief was followed by anger and concern. Community members questioned how a 7-year-old child could become the center of a plan built on money and rumors. Others debated the choices made during those critical seconds during the abduction. On social media, the case sparked heated conversations about responsibility, street conflicts, and how adult decisions can spill over onto children. Beyond the headlines, the impact is personal. Jamal may have been found physically safe, but being chased and taken at gunpoint is not something a child simply forgets. Situations like this often leave emotional effects long after court dates are set. This case has forced many people to confront a difficult truth. When disputes involve money, reputation, or power, innocent children can become collateral damage.